Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host Terry, and today we gotta talk about the Bears, people. We gotta get into the stuff. Obviously, there's a lot to say, and I want to get this done before the games tonight, so I put my bets in. But look, yesterday was tough for a lot of reasons. Me and my good friend Jack Daniels, we was a little slapped, but hey, we're sober mind today, as they say. But there were some things that I didn't get to say, but I want to kind of move past that and get down to the brass tacks. Like, the title of this is probably The Truth About the Bears. As said before many times, this is going to be the most truth you get. Now, you might not want to hear it. You might be the type of fan that you like cheerleaders. I'm not that, never been that. And so if you're new, that's fine. You know, it's nice to meet you. You know, that's bye. But that's not what I do. I tell you the truth. And again, I understand people don't really enjoy that, but it is what it is. So we're going to get down to that. One thing that I want to say before we get started is just a little bit of context, I guess, for people to understand. Not that I necessarily have to do this or anything, but this is about conversation and all those good things. This is not meant to be antagonistic. Obviously I got opinions and thoughts, and if someone says something, that I don't agree with, we're gonna have a conversation about it. But just to help you understand, because there's so much like discussion about what we know, what we don't know, and all that. And yes, I've coached football. Yes, like, I'm very heavy into football, but it's in no way really it's not really so much I'm an expert, you're not type of thing. That's not the way I approach it. You got to understand, as I said before, I'm analytical by nature. That's the way my mind works. That's probably why I'm in the work that I do, data analysis, and I'm finishing a PhD program. So what you need to understand, what that means is I spend most of my day, every day, listening to people come to conclusions that are not supported and working to find better evidence, to look at the data and come to better conclusions. And so when it comes to football, which obviously is different, but it's the same approach. So if I'm not just going to be, quote unquote meathead when it comes to football, that's just not how I am. I'm going to be the same way I approach all of these things. And so again, if this were not football, if this was my job and I'm working with a department or whoever, and we're going over their data, and I asked them these questions, blah, blah, blah. And if they came to me and were telling me, hey, this is this, this is this, and this is this. And I asked, okay, are you seeing that? Like, is that something you experienced? Are you there? Did you get that from other students? Like, where are you making these what evidence are you using to make these conclusions? And they were like, we can just tell. I'm going to dunk on that every single time. And so when it comes to these discussions, it's the same way. And so I think some fans just don't know or don't want to accept that there's a lot that you just don't know. And I get it. It's sports media all day long. It's internet all day. So you feel like you get to just say your opinion and it's valid, but it's not. It's not. And if it's something that we all know for a fact that you do not have any knowledge of in terms of like expertise or being in the building to know that that's even true, then what's the point? I mean, I do the same thing with anybody on ESPN talking. Of course, I'm going to do it with any fan. So that's the way I approach things, just so that helps you a little better. All right. Second thing, I didn't say this. I think this is big, but in this discussion, it might not be as big. But everyone's talking about how the players have given up on Eberflus and they given up on Waldron. And I'm not even definitively saying that there's no truth to that, but I will say the players have given up on Caleb a lot more than any of those two. And so not only from the NFL, but from my own experience playing or otherwise, I've been on those types of teams. I've been around those types of teams. And as Bears fans, y'all should know this. Those defensive type of teams where the offense is just very ineffective and the defense has to keep you in the game all the time. Eventually, pressure bursts pipes. Like, you get worn out over the season, injuries happen, and every game the defense can't be Superman. And so when you watch the offense continually just not produce anything, that wears on them. Now, of course, you'd be like, well, that's the OC. They don't like him. The problem is Caleb's situation is unique. Not unique, but unique for us. We've definitely never been in this spot with a number one pick. Definitely in today's age, everything is more hype, but we never been with someone this hype. I mean, not only that, but then you had Justin Fields, a locker room favorite, leaving. So you already know what DJ Moore said about Justin Fields. You already know how the other players talked about Justin Fields. We know Jalen Johnson's attitude on Caleb coming in. He's not going to be able to do all this Hollywood stuff. You talking about people who didn't even know this, like didn't know him at all. But they heard all the narratives. They heard all the media. They heard the discussions. And that's how they treated him coming in. Now, I'm sure Hard Knocks training camp and all that, it got better once they got to be around him. But once those live bullets come and you playing the game and you losing, yeah, it's a whole different flavor. So people want to talk about the body language of everybody. People want to talk about Caleb's body language. Like DJ Moore, look, I don't like that personally because I quote unquote don't have good body language, but I don't like that being an excuse for people to say what I'm not and what I am, and you can't tell me what I'm thinking. So I don't get into that too much, but there's certain things in football, especially at the pro level, that you just don't do, like just because of optics. And for a player to continually do it all the time, especially at a specific position, like, I don't know, receiver, you kind of know what it is. So with DJ Moore, the receivers are frustrated because they know more times than not, they're not going to get the ball on time, and they're not going to get the ball maybe even accurately. And so they're frustrated with Caleb. And again, the coaches, we know they're frustrated with Caleb again because everybody wants to say, oh, these plays are terrible. Every single play is terrible. No, every single play is not. There's a lot of plays where Caleb just doesn't make. And I'm sure the coaches are frustrated with that. And so overall as a team, like as in terms of how the locker rooms go, and I know I just talked about how we're not in the building and all that. So I'm not, again, when I give my stamp of approval on things like this, I'm talking about like maybe 60%. There's a huge chunk I don't know. But from the things that we can see in just the natural nature of a team, they're not feeling Caleb Williams because you came in with all this hype. You came in with all these narratives of who you are. And at the end of the day, he's a different type of cat. Like I said that from the very beginning. I said it during Hard Knocks, which we do have a lot of behind the scenes access that you typically wouldn't have in a given year. You can see, like I said, Only Child makes so much sense. The way he just relates, the way he talks, not saying he's bad, but you know what it is. He's not like one of the dudes. And a guy, and I know this might be triggering, but like a Jaden Daniels, very clearly one of the dudes. Lamar Jackson early on, very clearly one of the dudes. CJ Stroud, that's not Caleb. And so when you got factors like people's jobs on the line and all that, and when you got the really underwhelming performance, I have no clue how he acts in practice outside of Hard Knocks, and that changes once you start losing games. So I don't know how he acts with people. I don't know, any of that. But like I said, I can tell you for certain, 100%, that in those locker rooms, like a relationship, when things ain't going well, any little thing could be annoying. So in those locker rooms, if you had people that had certain feelings about him coming in because of what they heard, that's amplified. If you have people who have certain feelings about him because they think Justin Fields should be here, just like a lot of these fans, that's amplified. If you play with him on offense and you're getting blamed because of stuff that he's doing, that's being amplified. So, and I won't mean like gave up on Caleb, but like they have low expectations of Caleb going out there. The defense going out there knowing eventually the offense is about to get a ball right back. Like the offense, the receivers go out there knowing probably not going to get many catches. It is what it is. And Caleb, he doesn't believe in the O-line, and that happens all over the league, especially with us. But that's a young quarterback, and that's fine. But I'm just telling you, while this conversation is about people not playing for Eberflus, which is kind of crazy because once again, you can't really point to much that he did other than, oh, we're losing, so we're just going to blame Eberflus. Like, again, if you want to talk about not protecting the sidelines before the Hail Mary, sure, go ahead. You still have probability-wise, because people love stats, the probability was barely a difference. And so that play was way more about the players than it was about Eberflus. But people want to blame him. So that narrative is out there, but I'm telling you, as the way players act, they're much more down on Caleb than anybody else. All right, moving forward. And well, let me touch on that real quick because one of these comments triggered me. I'm gonna be quick with it because I already said what I have to say. But when you push people, I literally just went on this whole discussion last episode about how coaches are easy to blame. And so when you push people, it seems some people get to the point where they, without saying it, they're pretty much like, we're never going to blame a player. And I think that's insane because A, it's not true, because depending on who the player is, you absolutely will blame the player, especially if it's in favor of a better player. You're always going to be like, well, it must be that guy's fault, not this guy's fault, because he's good. And B, that's insane to say that you won't blame players for playing bad. I just, like, there gets to a point where I don't even understand what we're doing anymore. Like, I don't even know what game we're looking at, what game we're playing, because some people sound like they're on different wavelengths. Last time I checked, you put on a film, player playing bad, you could say a player's playing bad. But hey, narratives, politics, media, I guess. All right, so anyway, so what do I feel certain about when we're talking about the truth? Looking through like the conversations and stuff, because I'm open obviously to listen, and just the whole picture, I do think Waldron should go. I struggle with to say right now. I don't know who's on the staff. Sure, maybe there's somebody that could spark it, but you're going to be down a person, and you're going to have to I wouldn't say completely reinvent, because you can't. It's 10 weeks in. You're going to have to makeshift something, and that's not a positive. That's never a positive. But could you find a diamond in the rough and all that good stuff? Maybe. Sure, maybe. Could the play calling rhythm be different and be better? Maybe. But as I've said a lot, you go to the film, and this isn't me just making something up. This is what football teams do. And so when you look at the film, you can say whether that's a coach problem or a player problem. It ain't a mystery. And so there's some things that are not going to change. And we've been down this road. A bunch of teams have been down this road. A couple teams are on the road right now. We've been down this road. Oh, fire this person is going to get better. No, it does not. And so I'm on the fence about that, but overall, I do think he should go. As I mentioned in the community, I think number one, is very clear that whatever his style of teaching and everything is not gelling well with Caleb. Now, that isn't always cause to just be like, get him out of there, because there's no guarantee on the next one. But I do think that going forward, like I said, next season, that's just something that with this investment of a quarterback, you kind of got to look at. But more going deeper than that, and I was posting the stats, it was interesting because I've said many times about what I expected from Waldron based on Seattle. He was there for 3 years as the OC. That's like a 1-to-1 comparison. And so you look into it and you look at the complete 3 years, and I'm realizing now, obviously I didn't have the advanced stats that we get now with the NFL Pro and everything, but I'm realizing now when you look at, and these are complete seasons, you started off like top 7 in play action percentage. You were like top 10 in run percentage, which obviously makes you lower on the pass percentage. And that's the Seattle you think of. That's the 12, 13 personnel, multiple shifts, a lot of motion, a lot of run, play action. That's the classic Seattle we think in the Pete Carroll era. But actually, after that first year, it completely shifted to the point by his last year, they were top 5 in passing percentage and near the bottom of the league in play action percentage and run percentage. And that's what you see right now with the Bears. We are currently, I think, like 12th in pass percentage. We're over 50%. We're near the bottom of the league in play action percentage. Even though we're not the worst, we're under 20%. That's crazy. Like the number drop up because the team above us is at 20. We're at 18. So that's a pretty big difference. But in my mind, again, no disrespect, but most casual fans, if you were to throw this out there, they couldn't answer it. And so if you ask me, hey, just, whatever offense you're running, what do you think is a good percentage for this? And if you said play action, I would tell you 18% is a problem, especially given our roster. I'd be like, that's a problem for what we have and what we want to do. Now, obviously, Shane Waldron doesn't want to do that. Like, you look at the first year, that's prior to the Geno reemergence. Once Geno comes on, they became a pass-heavy team, so that's what he wants to do. Now, look, we put in resources to bring in a quality receiver. We draft high to get a quality receiver. We pay our receiver. We pay our tight end. We bring in Caleb. It's very clear that this ain't just Waldron. Like, Waldron didn't go rogue. The GM and everybody said, hey, we want to be a passing team. Now, does that mean you have to be, 60%, 40%? No. Does it mean you have to, lean heavy? No, it doesn't. But it's very clear for all the people, me included, that are like, I didn't come into the year saying, hey, we got to just run all the time. I'm not run, play action, not with the talent that we got. But I did think it would be more balanced. But it's very clear the team, as in everybody, philosophy wise, were okay with going with this type of system. And let me say another thing. For everybody talking about Cliff Kingsbury, Cliff Kingsbury is not known for, first of all, let me back up. Washington is one of the higher rated teams in a lot of rushing categories. That is 100% part of the reason they're having offensive success. Cliff Kingsbury is not known for running the ball. He is not known for his run ability. What happened was Dan Quinn brought in Anthony Lynn, former Chargers head coach, and he's the run game coordinator. And that is where you get a lot of this sophistication from. Now, Dan Quinn, we've seen him as a head coach. We know his philosophy, and most defensive coaches they want to run the ball. So is there a world where Cliff Kingsbury was put into a marriage that ended up working very well? Yes, there is. But of course, everybody's going to be like, well, Cliff Kingsbury is clearly just so great. Go watch Arizona. And I don't want to hear about head coach versus OC. We know he ran the offense. Look at the offense. And even look at the offense compared to what it is right now. It's very different. So there's that. But anyway, everybody was on board with this more of a passing identity. What those conversations were, I don't know. Quick passing, again, play action passing, I don't know. But if you look at the MO of Shane Waldron, that ain't what he did. And so, yes, I just, that's an eye opener for me. And I don't think that, well, I should say, I know at this point, Caleb Williams not at that level. Coming in, once again, you would have told me all this, I would have adjusted my expectations, but I wouldn't have been pouting about it. I would have been like, okay, yeah, let's lean towards passing. Sure. Swift, I wouldn't spend the money on him. But again, we got 4 to 5 O-line coming back from a great rushing attack. Most of these guys have been there previous years with a great rushing attack. Khalil Herbert, Johnson, great runners. Like, let's go. And so if we could plug them in as needed into the game, I would not been mad at it. But after seeing Caleb, seeing what issues or what parts of his game I was wrong about, I'm at the point where I'm like, this philosophy doesn't fit Caleb, and this teaching style doesn't fit Caleb. And so I do think we should move on from Shane Waldron. And again, it's not a complete indictment. Like, to fans, it is. It's always going to be a complete indictment. Like, it didn't work out. You don't know how to do anything in football. Clearly, that's not true to the actual people that know football, because these coaches continue to get jobs, because the people that know football know they can actually coach. And so there are parts of it that they're not Waldron's fault or his staff's fault. There are parts of it that are all on him, and then there's parts that's Caleb, parts of O-line. This same conversation we had before with everybody. Fans, like, even though I agree that we should move on from Waldron, fans get so fixated on a scapegoat, and we just keep doing it every time. It's clearly this person's fault. It ain't blah 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 fault. And I've had these arguments for years. 7 years now. And so I've been on the right side of all of these. So I'm okay with people feeling strongly about the wrong opinions, but it ain't completely Waldron. And when you have casual fans and owners and media that's the way they think, you have bad diagnosis of the problem, and you continue to have the same problem. And that's why we stay in this cycle, because owners at the end of the day have the power, and they do listen to media, and they do listen to fans, and a lot of them don't know football. And so we end up in these same things. So to sit here and say nothing's wrong with Caleb, he completely regressed because they don't know how to develop a quarterback. Explain to me how you develop a quarterback. I would love to hear that TED talk from one of the fans. But anyway, also another indictment that I think causes for we got to move on. It's one thing not to run the ball. it's another thing to be just really, really bad at it. Now, look, players are going to do I won't say the most part, players are going to do what they do to make themselves look good. But to a certain extent, they're going to follow whatever, the coaches say until they feel like the coach has no power. I still put this on the players, especially because they're not really good. But the facts are, after 10 weeks of 9 weeks of watching this, our offensive line clearly does not know their run block assignments. They don't know it, or they have the wrong ones. We're not teaching the run game correctly. And as I mentioned before, I am getting back into the whole coaching swing and all that good stuff. And this was clear the last time I coached, and it's more clear today, that a lot of coaches don't know the run game like they used to. A lot of offensive coaches. And the biggest reason is because of the spread. The spread 9 times out of 10 is inside zone left, inside zone right. And so that's what a lot of people teach. And even that has its own rules. I already went through all that and talked about the proper way to run zone. But a lot of coaches, I guarantee you, because you got false passing league narratives, you got false quarterback driven narratives. A lot of these coaches only really focus on passing game, and they want RPOs, they want, all this stuff. And a lot of these coaches come through the college ranks where the spread is crazy, and so they don't want to spend time teaching the run or knowing the run. And the other part that people have to understand, which I'll say is an excuse. I know people always like, no excuses. No, it's not even an excuse. It's a reason. People got to understand, the NFL, you got limited time. I mean, college is more limited than it used to be. The NFL is very limited. Like, yes, there's a lot of meetings, but you can't have on the field time to practice a lot. You have very limited time. And so as a coach, you have to make a decision philosophically. What are you going to spend time on? And there's a lot of teams, not just the Bears, that are like, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the run game. We're going to spend a lot of time on the pass game, in the screen game, in the RPO. We want to get that stuff down in that timing. And it's not wrong. I'm not even saying it's necessarily wrong. It's a philosophical decision. Now, when you decide to do that, and then you end up with a rookie quarterback that's not able to execute, a lot of stuff looks kind of bad. And so the run game is a mentality, is something that has to be practiced to be really good at. You could tell the teams that spend time on it and the teams that don't. We really do not know our run assignments. That's a big issue. Again, Shelton shouldn't be starting. Pryor shouldn't be starting. Probably, well, I'm not going to knock Braxton and Darnell Wright, but they've been playing bad too. And so that does play a factor, but overall, we're not coaching the run game. And I don't care if it's just inside zone, split zone, outside zone. You better be really good at those 3 plays, and we're not. And it's not even like we're not effective. It's, you can look and see that they're not assignment sound. That's a problem. So yes, I do think Shane Waldron should go. Again, as I've mentioned many times before, and I kind of already alluded to it in terms of the team, like playing hard and effort levels. I don't put that on Eberflus more than I put it on some other people, by the way. But Eberflus has he has the critiques that he deserves as well. And so I'm not trying to, make it seem like, again, because a lot of people, we're in a black and white society where 0 to 100. If you say anything positive, that means you're completely defending. Nowhere did I ever say any of that. All I said is they're being unfairly critiqued. That doesn't mean they're above critique. So Eberflus definitely has some issues, but Most of the time, the biggest thing that it comes down to is people saying situational decisions. And once again, I have to point to some of the favorite coaches in the league who have a track record of being bad in situations. Coaches that win games, coaches that have rings, bad in situational football. So again, we move the goalpost depending on the narrative. Everybody wants to fire Eberflus. Everybody says he's not a good head coach. So that's the end all be all. Like, that's the end all be all. Situational decisions are terrible, so he's got to go. By that logic, Kyle Shanahan, Dan Campbell, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, a bunch of coaches got to go. And so I don't buy into that. Like, I just don't. That I haven't changed that. I'm not saying that he's good. Again, bad decision making. Does that mean he has to be fired? No. Do I think he continues? No. I already said I believe he's going to be fired. If not this week, next week. I don't know if he even makes it to the end of the season. But what I do know is we're going to be back in the same cycle we've been before. And I can literally list out the exact things that everybody's going to say in the comments and everybody's going to say in the media, because this is the fourth time we did it. I can list it out. If Caleb is not going to make it with the Bears, I can guarantee I could map out the rest of his career and tell you exactly what everybody's going to say step by step, because we already did it. And so for me, I'm not saying he has to stay or not. Like I said, I've come to the conclusion on Waldron. I haven't really came to that conclusion on Eberflus. And again, I'm not saying that he's perfect. I'm not saying that, again, he should even stay. The real answer is there's a lot we don't know. And again, fans aren't going to accept that. But that's just the truth of the matter. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot that I would have to know to make that determination. But he's a first-time head coach, and so people are going to throw him under the bus. And they're going to do that because he's a defensive head coach. And so people are over here crying for people are condemning Eberflus for being a first-time head coach and begging for Ben Johnson, who has never been a head coach. Make it make sense to me. People can say whatever they want. We all know what it is. He's an offensive guru. He's a quarterback whisperer. He's a play caller. Yeah, we've been down that road. And a whole lot of teams been down that road. And we know where that ends up. And so, but that's just the life of the fans. So, in terms of the rest of the season, no, I don't think the players have given up. No, I don't think we're going to lose every game after this. I think that's ridiculous. At the end of the day, it was not great, but the team still has plenty of good spots. It's just that people don't want to acknowledge them because we're losing. But that's the truth of the matter. And any team, there's no team that is just every single play is terrible, obviously, but most teams has good spots. The great teams lean into their strength, they amplify those positives, and they minimize the mistakes and the negatives. Have we been growing? No. Have we been keeping our, bond together as a team? No. Losing sucks, especially when a lot of the outside noise gets penetrated inside of the locker room, and at this point, that's just the world we live in. So yeah, like I said, when people start losing people jobs on the line, people are going to start looking at each other sideways. But I don't think it's completely over. I 100% think we can compete. I have no earthly idea why anybody think we couldn't compete. So if you think we can't compete, then you're just saying fire people to fire people just to do something. And once again, all due respect, those type of fans, you probably ain't gonna like it over here. That's not that. I don't do that. That's not the thought process that I get into. So for me, I think there 100% are changes that can be made, and we'll see what they do, whether it's philosophical or staff wise, and we'll go forward. I think Caleb has a ton of talent, probably doesn't have a ton of confidence right now, but he has a ton of talent. And I think, just overall as a roster, we got enough talent. We could definitely still compete in games, but it's definitely not going to be the season that I expected, and a lot of people expect it, but I think we'll get through the rest and we'll see what's next. But it's just so many false narratives out there, unfortunately. So many things that people are saying that are just wrong, and it's sad. But hey, that's what we're here for. Better Bears fans, for people that actually want to be better Bears fans. That's what we're here for, to look at the actual truth of the matter. Once again, I kind of talked a little bit longer, so I was going to kind of go through each part of the roster, but I don't think it's no sense to do that. I've already done that prior to the season. Some things are better, some things are worse than we thought, but I do think there's a path forward. And yeah, my voice just starting to hurt, so I'm gonna wrap it up there. Hopefully that was the more calm and cool, collected analysis of what's going on. Again, I know people don't want to hear that it's everybody's fault, but that's just kind of what it comes down to. I mean, as I continue to say, whether you understand right now or not, the game is the game. It ain't gonna change. It's a game of inches and seconds. The game is the game. And so there's just certain things that are indicators, and when you look at it, whether you're, great at it, bad at it, whatever, is going to tell you what type of team you have. And it doesn't mean it's forever. There's a lot of games left, but we'll see what the adjustments are. So that's it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.